welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. I'm pretty excited about these meals because they were so delicious this past week. But today is Mother's Day and I just wanted to wish all of the ladies out there a happy Mother's Day. I hope you guys are all having a great day today and staying safe and healthy out there. I know it's kind of crazy right now, but I hope you guys are all doing amazing. But if you are new to my channel, I'd love to have you over here, so go ahead and hit that red subscribe button down below the video so you don't miss next week's What's for Dinner. But let's get cooking. To kick this week off, we had these easy oven-baked pork chops. So to begin, I'm going to start on the seasonings. The seasonings I'm adding to this bowl is just 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon paprika, a half a teaspoon Italian seasoning, or you could use dried oregano, and then a half teaspoon of sea salt, a 4th teaspoon of ground pepper, and then I'm going to mix it all together. Once our spices are mixed together, I just pulled out my pork chops. These are just boneless pork chops, and there's just 4 in here. My pork chops were pretty thin. You could use thicker pork chops, just adjust the cooking time. So I'm just gonna brush these pork chops with some olive oil on each side. This recipe is pretty darn easy, so the last thing you're gonna do is put this seasoning on each side of the pork chops and then toss it in the oven. Here is my plate all plated up. Of course, I served it alongside of some steamable peas and some mashed potatoes. I love my pork chops with peas and mashed potatoes. This pork was super good and flavorful. Unfortunately, I did dry it out a little bit. I would just cook it a little bit less in the future. For this dinner, we went ahead and had some healthy baked chicken fingers. So to begin, I am just starting with my seasonings and my coating for the chicken. We're just using a cup of panko breadcrumbs. You could use regular breadcrumbs if that's what you have on hand. And then we're using a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and then 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, thyme, parsley, paprika, salt, and then 1/8 teaspoon of pepper. I did want to mention to you guys, I always have these recipes linked down below in my description box, but if any of you guys struggle with finding these recipes, just let me know in the comments down below what recipe you guys are wanting, and I will give you the exact recipe and measurements, and I will comment back to you. Now that our seasonings are all whisked together, I am just brushing a little bit of olive oil on each of these little chicken tenders, and then I'm coating them in our breadcrumb seasoning mixture, and I'm doing it to all of these chicken tenders until all of that seasoning is gone. Here are our chicken tenders all cooked through. So my brother did come over and eat with us on this night, and he said these are some of the best chicken tenders he's ever had. So this recipe was a total hit. I do suggest it. I served it alongside of a baked potato side salad, and of course this chicken dipping sauce. If you guys like Chick-fil-A's dipping sauce, this is exactly like it, and I get it from Walmart. For this night's dinner, we're making some sour cream chicken enchiladas. To begin, I have 1 large chicken breast that I went ahead and I boiled up in some taco seasoning, and then I shredded it. And now I'm just adding a 1/2 cup of a white onion along with about a 1/4 cup of some sour cream, and then I'm just going to mix that all together to combine. I thought this needed a little extra oomph. This is not what the recipe called for, but I'm adding in 1/4 cup of salsa. You could add any type of salsa you guys like, but I just thought this would add some great flavor to it. Once everything was mixed together, I pulled out my casserole dish. You could use a 9x13 baking dish, that would just be fine. So I am just scooping out some of that enchilada mixture into a flour tortilla. This is just a smaller to medium-sized flour tortilla. This is not a burrito-sized tortilla. And then I'm just going to roll it up and then put it on the bottom of my casserole dish. I did line that casserole dish with a little bit of some enchilada sauce. This is red chili enchilada sauce, and I did use about a 10-ounce can of that. Before this goes in the oven, I'm just pouring the remainder of our 10-ounce can of enchilada sauce right on top, and then I'm putting some aluminum foil on top of that and then plopping it in the oven. Here we are about 25 minutes after baking. I'm just going to be sticking about 1.5 cups of some cheese on top. I am using Colby Jack cheese. You could use any type of cheese you want, so I just put it on top and then I plopped it back in the oven under the broiler for a few minutes until it got bubbly and delicious. Here we are, all plated up. I just served it alongside of some chopped tomatoes, guacamole, and some refried beans. This was super, super good. I do suggest this recipe. For this night's dinner, we are making some ground beef, beef stroganoff, and green beans. To begin, I have a pound of lean ground beef that I'm going to be cooking up alongside of an onion inside of it. This is just 1/2 of a white onion. And then in the back there, you see about 2 cups of some egg noodles that I'm boiling up and cooking totally through. So once that ground beef is near cooked, I'm just going to be adding in about 5 cloves of garlic, along with about a tablespoon of some all-purpose flour. And then I'm just going to stir that all together. Once the flour is mixed together in it, you're just going to be adding your cup of some beef broth along with a cup of whipping cream. And then you're also going to be adding in about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then about 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. You're just going to mix everything together and bring it up to a simmer. Once it is simmering like this for a few minutes, now it is time to add your sour cream. I did turn the heat off at this point, and then I just mixed everything together and let that sour cream warm through. Here is my plate. I'll plate it up. I just served it alongside of some cut green beans. This was super good, and that beef stroganoff was really, really rich and flavorful. I really do recommend this recipe. It was one of the better beef stroganoffs I've ever had. For this night, we made this beautiful oven-baked chicken Parmesan. To begin, I have 1 large chicken breast that I sliced thinly in half, and then I'm putting it in my large gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and then I'm going to be beating it with my rolling pin. I know, kind of funny, but you could use a meat tenderizer at this point or a large cast iron skillet. Somebody did suggest that to me. I just don't have a cast iron skillet yet, but I am just going to be pounding this chicken out until it gets thin and even in size. So now to start on the seasonings, I am just using a cup of some Pacheco breadcrumbs along with about 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, about a teaspoon of dried oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, salt and black pepper to taste. This recipe is so simple, but seriously, these seasonings all together make this recipe delicious. And I did want to let you guys know, if you don't have panko breadcrumbs, this recipe would still turn out great with regular breadcrumbs. Once that breadcrumb mixture is all mixed together, you're going to start on your egg wash. So all this egg wash is seriously 1 egg beaten. To coat this chicken, I just dipped it in the egg wash first, and then I moved it over to that breadcrumb cheesy mixture, and then I put it on a separate plate. Moving over to our cookie sheet, this is lined with aluminum foil. You could line it with some parchment paper. Unfortunately, all my stores have been out of parchment paper, so I'm using some aluminum foil. And then I'm just brushing it with some olive oil. And then I'm going to put my chicken on top and toss it in the oven. Here we are. I'm just using this pound of thin spaghetti. I don't suggest using this entire box if you have a smaller family, but the reason I use this entire box is because we just had spaghetti for lunch the next day, and then I'm using this Prego 3 cheese marinara sauce. You're not going to use the entire jar of your marinara sauce. You're going to save some for on top of the chicken right here. So once that chicken is out of the oven, you're going to pour the remainder of that marinara sauce on top of it, along with some mozzarella cheese. And then you're going to put it back in the oven and under the broiler until it gets bubbly and ooey and gooey. Here we are, all plated up. This is honestly one of my top 5 favorite meals of all time. That chicken parmesan just comes out perfect every single time. We just served it alongside of a side salad, and I really do suggest this recipe. I feel like all of you guys would really enjoy it. Here is our meatless meal out of the week. We just made a 1 skillet Mexican rice casserole, so we're going to start on the brown rice first. To my Instant Pot, I added in 2 cups of rinsed brown rice along with a 1.5 cups of water, and then about a tablespoon of some avocado oil. You could use olive oil, that would be just fine. And then I just stirred it all together. You could season it at this point with salt and pepper. I just didn't really want to. I put the lid on. Always make sure you set your Instant Pot to sealing. And then I put it on high pressure for about 24 minutes, and then I let it naturally release. To begin on this casserole part, I am just chopping up 1 white onion into small pieces. Now over to my skillet, I'm just going to be pouring in some oil. You're also going to be pouring in your chopped up onion. At this point, you're also going to be adding in your bell pepper. I just didn't have any bell pepper on hand, so I just skipped that part. Once your onions are translucent, you're going to start seasoning this up. So I'm just using about 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then this one is unique, so it's about a teaspoon of some dried oregano. I thought that added some great flavor to it as well, and then a little bit of pepper to taste. Once you thoroughly mix that together, you're going to be adding in your can of drained and rinsed black beans along with your can of drained and rinsed corn. And you're just going to mix it together, and then you're going to be adding in your red chili enchilada sauce, about 10 ounces of that. And then you're also going to be adding in about 4 ounces of green chilies that are diced. Now you're just going to be adding 1.5 cups of your cooked rice to this. You guys could also use white rice if that's what you prefer. So then I'm just going to add that, stir it together, and then I am squeezing in 1 lime to this recipe. The original recipe did not call for a lime, but I just think lime adds so much flavor to a lot of Mexican dishes. Here is our plate all plated up. We just served it alongside sour cream, cherry tomatoes, extra lime, and some slices of avocado. This was so good, and it really did impress us again with a meatless meal. Even my baby enjoyed it. For our fun dinner out of the week, we made some calzones. So here are all the simple ingredients you guys are going to need. This is a no yeast recipe, so if you try to stay away from yeast, this one is a good dough for you. So I'm just adding in about 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour to my electric mixer. I'm also adding in about 3 teaspoons of baking powder to that, and then 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm just going to be mixing that all together. I did want to let you guys know, if you don't have an electric mixer, you could easily do this by hand. Once that is all whisked together, you are going to pull out a separate bowl, and into that separate bowl I'm adding 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water, and then 1 tablespoon of canola oil, and then I'm just going to be mixing that together. This part couldn't be any easier. I just poured our water and oil mixture in with our flour mixture, and then I mixed it all together until it became dough-like. This is the consistency you really want your dough to be when you start kneading it. So if it is not this consistency, just add a little bit more flour or water until it becomes this consistency. So now I'm just going to be kneading it on my floured surface for about 5 minutes. Now you guys see me attempting to roll out my pizza dough super flat. I eventually got it, as you guys could see, and then I'm just pouring in some of this Prego roasted garlic jar on it. You could use any type of marinara sauce you guys prefer, and then right on top of that I'm just adding some pizza seasoning. You guys could use Italian seasoning, that would work just fine as well, and then of course I'm just putting some mozzarella cheese on top of that, followed by some pepperoni, and then some Parmesan cheese and a little bit more pizza seasoning, and then I am folding it up just like a calzone. As you guys see here, I just folded my calzone in half, and then I am just putting down the edges with my fork. You do want to do this, or else some of that sauce and cheese might spill out of your calzone, and you just really don't want a big mess. And then you're just going to be brushing on top of that calzone with some olive oil or any type of oil you guys prefer. And then on top of that, I am just putting a little bit more pizza seasoning and then Parmesan cheese. So right here with my knife, I am just cutting 2 small holes in this calzone. This is just so the air could escape through here. Here is our calzone out of the oven. It is so thick and beautiful, and here it is plated up. I just served it alongside of some ranch to dip in and then a side salad. This was super good. The only thing I would do differently next time is probably just add some more toppings in the center and I will be golden. And that wraps up today's What's for Dinner. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and got a little bit of some meal inspiration out of it. I hope you guys all have a wonderful, safe week this week. And if you are new here, I'd love to have you. So go ahead and subscribe down below the video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.